Hey everybody, welcome back. 22 days until you guys start your 2018 Ironman Santa Rosa. So welcome to the DL, episode 10, focusing on Ironman Santa Rosa. So here's what we're going to do today. Last week we had a training camp on course. Rode the entire bike course. We split it into 2 days. We'll talk about kind of how logistics, how we ran, but we swam, rode the rode the entire bike course, split over 2 days, and did a chunk of the run course. And we'll bring back some things that I saw. One day I drove SAG behind the group, supported the group that way, and then on the second day I rode my bike in SAG in support from behind. So got to drive it, got to see it all again, and we see a lot of it anyway. But there's chunks of it that either we haven't ridden a ton or we don't ride a lot in general. So we can give you some updates on that. So logistics for today, we're going to go over that. Logistics for today will be sort of, we have a lot of questions that have seemed to pop up in general around on how we're handling the two transitions and gear bags and transition, all that. So logistics. Of course, I'm gonna take you through a little bit about what we, some of the simple things that we learned last weekend from the course, or any things that there may be different that I've mentioned, but there's really not much different. And also to training, you're coming up to a pretty crucial point to training where a lot of people are tired. Yes, and maybe some big training left. Some people have already started to maybe come off of their biggest training. Some people are hitting their biggest training now, and the next 3 weeks are still really, really influential in terms of how you are going to race on race day. And the last thing, we had a couple of questions, and it centered around sort of, and it's a good question on swim warm up and protocol and what's available out there in the morning, and because it is a tight area. So with that, we're going to start episode 10 of the DL right now, and we'll open with logistics. And the big thing is we talked a week or two ago about your travel and getting here and planning all of that. And the day before is a little more logistically different than a one transition area, everything close area. So if you've never done a two transition area race before, so here's what is planned right now. One thing I'll always advise is go to a race briefing. Like I've said before, I'll do those race briefings for you. And feel free to come up and say hello if you've been watching these and want to say hi. I would love to meet you, first of all. The second thing is if you go to the briefings, get a layout of the area. And then you're going to get to Friday, so the day before the race. You've already checked in, you've got all your bags, all your gear bags and things like that you pick up when you register, you check in. So on Friday morning, you're going to have two areas to drop your gear. One will be the transition area 2, which is downtown. You'll take your run gear bag to the transition area and you'll drop it with the volunteers. They'll take you to the area where you'll set that bag. It'll essentially be set down in the street where the street's blocked off, and your bag will be there. So anything you need to run in will be in that bag. Everything you need to run. Now so running shoes, bib number, those things like that. In the past, and I don't think it's changed, we haven't had to wear our bib numbers on the bike. So bib number, you can wear it on the bike, but you're gonna put it in that run bag if you need. So anything you need for the run goes into that bag. And you just drop it. You'll know exactly where it is. You'll get to see the spot that it's in. When you come in off the bike, you'll hand your bike to a volunteer. You'll proceed to the bag area, pick your bag up, go to the changing tent, change whatever you feel like you need to change into, and then you'll head out into the run. So you're going to drop your gear bag on Friday in transition area 2. Question that always comes up: do I have access to that on race morning? Do not plan to have access to that on race morning. Some people say they like to put cold nutrition stuff or frozen nutrition stuff in there in the morning. My recommendation to a lot of people is if you have drinks that are powdered type of things, put the powder in the bottles, whatever that is, and you'll have an aid station really early on the run course. Last year it was at about 400 meters into the run course, or you might have one just even leaving the tent, but it's in the past, last year it was just leaving the transition area. So you'll have that. So you want to plan ahead that way for your nutrition. The other thing you'll have is dropping your bike and your bike to swim to bike gear back. So That will be all the way up at Lake Sonoma. So you do have two options, and I've talked about that predicament before. Some people will pay for the service to have Tri-Bike Transport take their bike to the lake. Tri-Bike Transport, I don't know if they're taking bags or not. I would contact them if you've already arranged for that service to see. Last year we had conflicting stuff, but my recommendation in that sense would be to bring your bag on race morning. The problem with that is those gear bags get set out the night before. They get lined up numerically, and they get set out. So you're gonna have to go find that spot and get it squeezed into that bag area. So two options there. If you haven't seen the area and you haven't seen the course, I think it's just a great idea to get up there and see it one way or the other. So if you go up there the day before, you'll bring your bike and go into the transition area on the Friday and check the timelines for when you have to do it. You'll go to your spot, you'll rack your bike, you'll hang it by your seats, you'll know exactly where it is. And then you will also set your gear bag, which is your swim to bike gear bag, in the proper location. And that good thing is you can walk the whole transition area. You can see the layout, and you can see the route that you take that takes you through that transition area. When you do that, remember that you can have access to that gear bag on race morning, so you don't have to put your nutrition in there. Almost advise against it. And you can bring your other nutrition that goes on your bike race morning as well. So bring your bottles, bring everything else race morning. And that bag, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, that bag becomes your swim gear transfer bag. So anything you wore in the swim, wetsuit, cap, goggles, etc., goes into that bag that you had all your run gear in. So when you come out of the water and go into the change tent, swim gear comes off, bike gear comes out, wetsuit, etc., go into that bag, and you will just have a drop area for it outside the tent. Then you can off you go to your bike. So last year, and I presume we'll do it the same, we'll have a clean transition area, which means no helmets and no shoes on or at your bike. Bikes are in there really tight. There's really not much room for anything else in there. So all your gear, helmet, shoes, whatever you're going to wear on the bike or take on the bike, goes in the bag. You can have nutrition items, bottles, etc., on your bike. So that's it. That's your day before. It's logistically a little different, but it allows you to get to see some of the course. So plan ahead for that. It takes a little bit of time. I know some people are coming in Friday morning or late Thursday and checking in on Friday morning, which leaves for a really, really busy Friday on a big day that you've invested in a lot in. So just be organized if you do that. All right, second thing, the course. Last week we did our camp, and we went up early on a Saturday morning. We have a nice transport company that takes all our bikes, takes our athletes that came to the camp and up to the lake. We did a swim to check out water temp last week, and I'm going to talk about this as let's talk about it right now. The water temperature was about 57, 58 degrees. It was nice because the sun was out, was on people's backs, so they felt a little bit more comfortable about how it all felt. So 57, 58 degrees or so, but that came down a little bit because we got really cold the next couple of days. But that's going to change. So we did that, swim a bit on the course. Nothing new or different about the swim course. The water levels are good. The clarity will just get better between now and May with less rain. And so that'll change a little bit. The bike course. There's no big differences in the bike course, but let's talk two things. There's a change in the end of the bike course, and let's talk conditions of the bike course. In the past, I've referenced some rougher areas, and those areas are still the same. Willowside Road, it's going to be probably consistently the worst piece of road. 0.9 miles. Unfortunately for you guys, it's slated to be paved this summer, and right now it's scheduled prelude to the 70.3. So that's still the same. And nothing surprised me from driving it and riding it other than Highway 128 from Geyserville all the way to Chalk Hill Road. That used to be a really, really nice stretch of road, a nice stretch of pavement, but between winter rains the last couple of years, really the last 2 to 3 years, more winery trucks and buses that go there to take people to the casino have broken that road down. So you're going to have stretches that are smooth pavement, feel really good, and then you go to just sort of a really rough, not big potholes, just sort of rough pavement. And it goes back and forth between that. and you have to be aware. And I think if you've pre-ridden it and you've seen it, the advantage to that is you can actually, there's some lines that you can take, and if you ride safe and smooth, you can do that. So be aware of that, excuse me, that there's just some, I'll just say, for lack of better words, varying pavement. It changes a lot, and it surprised me a little bit. I knew that it was like that, but I haven't ridden out in that direction, the course direction, in a while. So, and that section is about 10 miles. So from Geyserville all the way to Chalk Hill Road. And again, it's just variable. It changes a lot. So be aware, heads up. That's the biggest thing. And there's some section that's in the shade too, so you have to navigate that, especially on the first loop. Beyond that, I think things are pretty good. You know, the same section on the second half of Fault Road before you cross River Road. It's narrow and it's got some bumpy stuff on it. But overall, considering what we have in Sonoma County, the majority of the course is in pretty good shape. So it's definitely an improvement from the people that raced last year. Overall, an improvement on conditions. Let's see. The change in the bike course, if you haven't seen it, you should go to Ironman's website. And your race director, Dave Reed, posted a nice little video how they're going to, how the end of the bike course has changed, which may be the last, it's about 3 miles, where you were coming all the way in on 3rd Street to a left-hand turn on Dutton. They're going to turn you left on Fulton Road now, and go watch that video, look at it. It doesn't change so much your race. It has a couple different turns on it. Pavement overall is similar. It's pretty good. It's in town, but it does change. It's more than anything. I believe it's a change for traffic within the city, and it's a huge advantage for the city, the way that they've changed this course. And then the way that you come in, it doesn't affect you that much differently. Again, all good roads. Not a lot different. Doesn't change too much. But take a look at that and understand that change. If you're used to the old route coming in and coming straight in on 3rd, you're going to come in on Hall, which turns into 3rd. But before you get to West 3rd, you'll take a left on Fulton, and you'll ride down to a road called West College, and then to Stony Point, and then West 9th, which you are on that for a longer period of time than you were previously. And as far as the run course goes, nothing's changed. Anything we've talked about before still holds. So from last week's viewing of the course a little bit more intimately, and that's the feedback we got from the athletes at camp as well. The good thing too is the people that did a couple loops on the second day, when people were pretty tired, they hit Chalk Hill as one of their last for the second time over the weekend, and they're tired, and it gave them confidence. So I think it's for most people, again, if you have the gearing and you pace yourself, it shouldn't be a problem to do that. So let's move on to training. And most of you are hitting your biggest peaks of training. Some people have already been there. Some people maybe get there at 2 weeks. It depends on people's training programs, your coaches, what you're following, how you feel. But for a lot of people that are there right now, the only thing that I'm going to advise, because you can't change a lot in your training right now, is trust your training plan and listen to your body. The key thing right now is that you're slowly coming off your training to get into race day. A lot of people get to this point and they start to think that, wow, I've done my biggest stuff, and there's a letdown physically and a letdown mentally. I think it's important that you stay engaged mentally and keep taking care of your training. And you're gonna have periods where you don't feel good, because there's this weird period as you start to freshen up that the body starts to realize that you're freshening up, and it wants to shut itself down. And the worst thing you can do is stop. Do your training, do it as it's scripted. If anything, if you have a session you really feel that bad, do it, but don't completely drop it. Just because I think it's important, because at some point the body starts to come around. And what I like to do, although a lot of people use the word taper, I just use I just swing it a little bit with my athletes, and we talk freshening up, because it's time to freshen up, and it takes time to freshen up. So slowly drop down in. Some people start to feel pretty good right away. Some people don't. So trust what you have in your training plan, assuming that it's gradually getting less and less volume. Typically, some people maintain the regular intensity, whatever they've been doing, but down all the way into race day. So stick to your workouts. The biggest thing you can do too is try to get more sleep. Get more sleep, eat better, take care of all the little things. Because as the training starts to diminish, people get. I heard funny stories of people also pick up house projects in the last 10 days because they have time, and injuries happen and they get tired from doing that, and plan those house projects or whatever for after the race, and invest in what you've done. So from a training standpoint, stick to the plan, be patient, and be confident in what you're doing, and be confident that what you're doing is going to take you to race day in the right frame of mind. All right, so that's the training. It's not super specific, but because everyone's in a different place right now. But take care of those little things. Like I talked before, it's an outside training thing, but make sure all your equipment is dialed in. If you have extra time and you're thinking about stuff, get the equipment dialed in. All the other final things that you need to get done. So travel is really easy for you. Get that done ahead of time. All right. So last thing, good question that came through to address is relative to not so much the water temperature, because we've addressed that, but will there be an area to warm up in the morning? And what's the best process for warming up in the morning? So a couple ways to look at that. Yes, there will be a warm up area. Last year it was set off as you come down the boat ramp to where you would start to be off to the left. And my recommendation last year for the 70.3, which was in May, and the water was pretty chilly, and I think it's going to be warmer this year based on we're going to not get as much mid-spring cold weather, rain, etc. Right now we have a nice string of sunny days coming up to us, so I think that lake's going to warm up a little bit more. We'll get it into the low 60s, and it'll be a really, really nice race day swim temperature for wearing wetsuits. But if it's cold and you're worried about cold, and 60 or 62 is cold, or if it does happen to be lower than that, it's in the 50s and it's cold. If you're one of those people that really struggles with the cold, my recommendation for most people is don't get in the water beforehand and get a swim warm up. Find another way to get your body warm and keep it warm. That's the biggest thing I can advise, is keep it warm, and especially after seeing Boston Marathon this last week, and the people that make massive mistakes in terms of not getting warm ahead of time and finding ways to stay warm. They burn through so many calories just by their body being cold. And you don't want to be standing on the boat ramp, waiting in line 15 or 20 minutes, shivering, waiting to get in the water. So my recommendation would be do a dry land warm it that gets you warm in your wetsuit, sweating in your wetsuit, and you're ready to go. And stay warm. Find a way to stay warm, whatever that is. Extra clothing that you can hand off to friends or family, plastic bags, doesn't matter what it is, but stay warm the best you can. Stay safe. That's going to keep you safe getting in the water. The other thing too, if you do get that sort of, I'll say panic for lack of better words, or hyperventilating when you get in cold water, is go down on the water's edge and stick your face in the water. Go off the warm-up area, splash water in your face, but don't put it in your wetsuit. Just put it on your face. Let your brain adapt to that, and that would be my recommendation. I can't advise the best thing for you for dry land. We have our own processes with our athletes that we found work well, but everyone's going to have a different process and what they have available to them in the morning. So take care of yourself. And that was a really good question. The second part of that is I think the water temp is going to be warmer than last year. The way that it's sort of trending right now, the athletes that came to camp last weekend felt like it took 2 or 3 minutes for them once they got in to sort of get over that cold or slushy headache or hyperventilation or whatever they got. And they said after that they felt pretty good. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. So if you do get in and you do get a little bit of that excitedness, the anxiety, that could just come not even from cold water. Just plan to take the first part of that swim really, really easy and take that as your warm up. You're not going to lose anything by doing that. So that was a really good question. And I think it really helps some people with their swims to get your heart rate up at some point before you get in. So that's where we're at, everybody. 3 weeks to go. If you've got long training or key training coming up this weekend, enjoy it and finalize all your nutrition and all the other pacing things you need to do. And then remember, gradually bring that training down. Don't drop it off too quick. So I'll finish with that. Best of luck to everybody across the weekend. We'll come back to you next week, and we'll see how everybody's doing. Good luck, gang, and talk to you very soon. 22 days. See ya. All right, bye.